Next year's elections will be like no other. Firstly, it will cost less. The Prime Minister has said it will definitely be less than $500 million kina, as has been in the past. Here are some of the others. The elections will be transparent. Campaigning time will be reduced. Nomination fees increased. Common roll publicized for scrutiny before polling. And LLG elections conducted separately. All of these intended to achieve the right results. Mark Kayok reports.
Any questions in relation to election?
National elections are crucial as it gives the nation opportunity to judge and select their leaders. It is held every 5 years, allowing the people to make informed decisions through a transparent and fair manner. Previous elections were different, with notable high costs involved. This is because of an increased number of candidates vying for the top spot. The Electoral Commission was required to print every ballot papers with photos of candidates included. Indeed, running an election is a very costly exercise. This warrants an increase in costs to run elections in PNG. That costs a massive amount of money must be shared by all, and that includes the general public and the candidates. The government has agreed to increase the nomination fees from 1,000 kina to 10,000 kina next year. The proposal will require a legislative change in Parliament.
And I think it's only fair that it is not only paid by the public, it must be paid by candidates as well. That is why, after consultation with many members of Parliament and many leaders, it has been suggested that we increase the fee. And the fee is not for government revenue. It is to assist in funding the elections itself. That is why there's a proposal before the Electoral Commissioner. And if he so wishes that is acceptable, he will propose those changes through Parliament. And we will then, of course, approve that increase in Parliament.
The Prime Minister was responding to a series of questions raised by Governor for Central Province Kila Hauda. Governor Hauda asked if these proposed changes are forthcoming in the 2017 national elections.
My question number one. To you, Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister deny or confirm whether the nomination fees for 2017 national election had been increased to 3,000 or 10,000?
The separation of election between open members, governors and council presidents is also important. Member for Rabaul Dr. Allen Marat queried the government on its position on the two elections.
Will the president for each LLG be elected by all the ward members that will have been elected, or will those presidents be elected by every eligible voter in each LLG?
The government has emphasized on uniformity throughout the local level government elections. This will allow the government to concentrate on only one election with a reduced cost.
From the discussions that we are getting from the leaders and all the other stakeholders, Mr. Speaker, it is suggested that we might allow the ward councillors to elect the president in the after the elections of the LLG. But there is no suggestion put forward to Parliament yet. That amendment will come to Parliament so that we have uniformity all throughout the country.
A legislation will be endorsed by Parliament to have uniformity in all presidential elections. Other proposed changes includes the reduced campaign period from 8 weeks to 4 weeks and the public scrutiny on the common roll. 3 months of campaign is too expensive and is anywhere comparable.
From the discussions that we are getting from the leaders and all the other stakeholders, Mr. Speaker, it is suggested that we might allow the ward councillors to elect the president in the after the elections of the LLG. But there is no suggestion put forward to Parliament yet. That amendment will come to Parliament so that we have uniformity all throughout the country. Mr. Speaker, we don't want abuses that has happened in the past in the common roll. Once the updates come back and it has been put into the computer and the data is updated, Mr. Speaker, the common roll will be published for public comments. Within 30 days, anybody can go and object if they feel that there has been some unfair increases in the number of people in some of the electorates and some of the wards. So that public scrutiny will be in place so that we want to conduct a very fair election. People have the right to choose their leaders in a fair manner. We don't want a number of inflated electoral common rolls throughout the country.
The government has allocated 400 million kina to run the elections in 2017. The Prime Minister said despite the funding, it is anticipated there may also be cost overruns during the elections.
Mark Kayok. Before we go, a programming note also on elections. Stay tuned. NBC Television brings you live and exclusive coverage of the U.S. presidential elections with the BBC World News. The BBC has special coverage of the elections, which NBC TV will carry after the transmission of PNG programs tonight. Will it be Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? Get it from NBC TV. Until then, see you tomorrow, the same time for another edition of PNG Tonight. I'm John Higgins. Good night.